Welcome back to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. I am Meredith Fogel here with my co-host Alicia Soikawa.
Hello.
Hello. So we were just noticing if you're watching on video, you'll see that Alicia has the heart against the dark background and I've got the flowers against the light background. So we were trying to talk about whether that had any kind of indication of our personalities. Alicia says yes. I don't think so. Um, but anyway.
My dark jaded soul.
Yes.
The business did not do that to me, though. No.
No, they can never do that to you.
Let me not scare you, those of you that have not been in it long enough. Those of you that have been seasoned are going to laugh about that.
You'll get the joke for
Yes.
sure. Yeah. All right. So today we're going to talk about what I think is a pretty interesting topic. And this was Alicia's suggestion. This is analysis paralysis. I think this is something that we all encounter at certain intervals in our careers and in our lives. And it can really be a difficult hurdle to get past especially when you're making like a big shift or a major change. And sometimes it's little things. But what we know is that there's something Tom Ferry always says, which is that winners execute, right? Winners execute quickly. They tend to get into action. And people who suffer from analysis paralysis, I don't think it's a personality trait. I think it's something that everybody can suffer from and probably does from time to time. But it's a fear-based pattern that can really tend to hold us back. So, Alicia, talk to me about what you think of when you hear analysis paralysis and why you thought this was useful to talk about today.
I think it's something that affects us at different points in our life and probably even daily affects it. If you are someone that has decision-making fatigue, or meaning that you make decisions all day long and you get home and you can't even decide what to eat for dinner because you've just made decisions all day long. So you run out, right?
Yes.
Or because you're making decisions on things you shouldn't really be making decisions on. So maybe you need to be outsourcing some decision making so you can reserve the less of that. We all have capacity, and I think that goes in with that capacity as well, is if you're using up your decision-making skill powers, like where you're making decisions, yes, Joe, to things that don't really matter and you don't really need to make decisions on, that when it comes time to make the decisions, sometimes you're going to second guess yourself. So that's one regard, right? As a leader, I face that sometimes.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, don't ask me, just make the decision and make it. I don't need to know.
So that's how you like firewall yourself from it. You just say, figure it out yourself kind of a thing.
Perfect example would be like, what food should we have at the office meeting? I don't care. Right. Make a decision. Why are you asking me? Right. Because it really doesn't matter what food we have. But yet when you're putting it on me, I'm like, well, should we have sandwiches or should we have pizza? And then you're like, you're sitting here wearing your brain out on things that really doesn't matter. No.
Yeah.
So you can empower your staff or your support partner, your husband, your wife, your children to say, why don't you make that decision? Because it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now, if you really care, that's different. Right. If you've been that's different. But I think it's just really important that I just want to clarify that. But I think what it gets down to me is I had my very first broker. This is the best way. Analysis paralysis. He would always be like, are you getting ready? Get ready. Stop, get ready, get ready. He would yell at me because he was like a coach. He coached like Little League and baseball. So he was just like, serious. He kind of reminded me of like an Al Pacino kind of like way about him. And he'd be like, had this gruffy, like, are you getting ready? Get ready. And I'm like, no. And I would just he would scare me because it would be true. Like it kind of snapped you out of it, because sometimes you need to snap yourself out of it. And I kind of find myself doing that with my coaching clients. Like what I hear you doing is you're getting ready to get ready. So an example of that would be a new agent trying to survey all of the ecosystem, meaning the Tom Ferry Facebook group. We have private Facebook groups when you're a Tom Ferry client, or like your realtor mastermind group or whatever you have, like your little groups. What CRM do you have? Meaning client relationship management program. For those of you that don't know what that is, a CRM is where it's a database of where you would put all your names of people, keep track of birthdays. Every industry has it. If you're wondering mysteriously, how do they know when your birthday is and things like that, it's like they put it in the CRM, and it's good. It's good client management. It's to help you be more efficient and better. Okay. It's just like your calendar, right? Your organizational system. Again, it doesn't matter. The one that you're going to use is what matters. So when people are surveying 50 people and they're interviewing and they're going on all these Zoom calls and testing all the free trials, the time they're taking to do that and the energy they're taking to do that, to compare the cost, one costs $2 more than another one has 3 more bells and whistles they're never going to ever use anyways. Who cares? Like, the end of the day, very, very, very few percentage of people are using the CRM to the fullest that it can be done.
Yes.
Just like your vehicle that you're driving. I guarantee you
So
don't use
true.
every single bell and whistle in your vehicle.
So true, so true. So what do you say to somebody who is having that analysis paralysis moment? Let's say they're about to make calls to like a potential lead source. Like let's say it's expired, so, and we're going to go real estate specific here. Um, they've got their, let's say they have their CRM and they're going through all of the records of all of the expireds, and they're trying to see like when did they buy their house, when did it go on the market, what did the listing look like, and they also want to make sure that they've fully digested and metabolized all of the scripts, the possible objection handlers that they could use instead of just getting on the phone and calling. What do you say to people like that who are like sitting behind that screen? They know they need to make the calls, but they really feel like they need to analyze all the information in order to be effective.
You know, that's a certain personality type. I think some people or some agents think they need to see all the details of a person to have a good conversation instead
Mhm.
of using their listening skills.
Oh,
Right? Because like when you go into a meeting of someone that you don't know, what are you asking them about themselves? You should be getting that information from them because it's not necessarily going to be on a piece of paper. Just like when you were to, if you were to interview a client, right? You wouldn't just use the resume, you would ask them questions. Tell me about yourself. Tell
mhm.
me what's going on with you, the in between the lines that you can't see on paper. Like having heard that saying when someone's like, oh, they're good on paper. But then when you meet them, you're like, that doesn't match up. Something's not right here.
Right, right.
Just like when a house says it's a 4 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,000 square feet, that really tells you nothing about the house, does it
Yeah,
not?
yeah, it's true.
Because the
Right.
fourth bedroom could really be a fake bedroom. It could be a closet with that's used as a bedroom, but it's not really. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's many things that you don't know until you're in the space, you know.
Yes.
So I think that's what I think. First of all, I think you have to tell the client there's never going to be an opportunity for you to know everything and be perfectly prepared for a
Mhm,
situation. Part of what we do as agents is we have to think quick on our feet. We have to listen
mhm.
and then be like, clarify, like what I'm hearing you say is this. Can you
Yeah.
please explain to me more? Tell me more. I don't understand. I think it's really weird. It's backwards. I think people think you're supposed to walk into something knowing everything, but you need to walk in acting like you know nothing.
That's a good, you know what that reminds me of is, so there was I think it was a podcast, wasn't it, that you sent us in our little mastermind group to listen to? It was Ed Milet, and remind me of the
Oh,
name.
Jen Gottlieb.
Yes.
That's the book I
Okay.
just am reading right now.
Yes, yes,
That
yes.
triggered the whole conversation about fear. Analysis paralysis is really just fear.
Okay.
It's masked fear.
Yes.
Right? When you start to overanalyze, it's because you're freaked out about something. You don't want to move forward. So you're going
Yeah.
to use everything to prevent yourself from moving forward, including like, oh, I have to make sure everything is perfectly done before I can move forward. So I think part of it would be calling your client out if you're coaching this agent to say, or if you're a team lead and your agent's not wanting to call, like, what are you really scared of?
Hmm. You know what she said that I thought was, this reminded me of, that I thought was so brilliant, because she and Ed Milet both discovered about each other, I think, during this podcast, that they're actually introverts, which you would not necessarily know by listening to either of them.
No, but it's,
Um,
I believe it. 100, I'm an
oh,
introvert.
me too.
I know you don't believe that, and I know you are too.
Yep.
Most people that do this type of I didn't think I was, but I really am. Like, I get so drained now that I have to go and like hide out.
Got to recharge. Yeah. But this was the thing that I thought was so brilliant, that I think it was that she said, maybe, was that instead of concentrating on being the most interesting person in the room, like if you go to a social event,
Yes,
be the
yes,
most
yes.
instead person in the
So
room.
that's exactly what I took away from it as well. So if you're interested and you're going into that space to hear and learn
Yes.
versus,
Yes.
didn't your mom ever tell you you've one mouth and two ears for a reason?
Right.
I
Yes.
used to say that to our kids. Yeah, we have two ears for a reason to make you
Yeah,
listen
it's true.
better.
It's true. And people
Yeah.
remember when you show interest in them, and all you have to do is, like you said, listen and
Be
ask
interested.
questions,
Yep.
stay in curiosity, and that solves like 99% of all of the roadblocks I think that people hit when they're in social
Yes.
settings, when they're trying to make
Yes,
calls,
yes,
all
yes,
of
yes.
those things.
100% all day long. I think what I noticed that you hit the nail right there. Like the level of awareness people have, I think, like I'm picking up on that. I talk a lot. So I try to be better like noticing, reading the room. Can you
Mm,
read the room? That's what it's called, reading the room.
yes.
Are people engaged? Or are they kind of like listening and like spacing out? Like
Right.
do you have engagement? And do you have buy-in?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
they leaning in? Like all the different things. And that's hard to do over text and email.
Very much so. You really have to be voice
Right.
to face. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So that was a little bit of a tangent, but I think related because people do get into this like paralysis mode when they're about to go into a social setting or about to even like, I think about how and I always see people putting like posts on Facebook of like how excited they are to like not have to go to the party or like that the party got canceled or
I
something
know.
like that, And like, I mean, we've all been through this, right? Where you're like,
Yes, we were just
every
talking about that for this
aspect.
upcoming event. I'm like, girl, don't worry. Monday night, we're just gonna like do a low key thing. And we were both like,
Yes. Yes.
like
Right.
hide out. I don't want to have any social game because I'm gonna be worn out and exhausted from being the coach
Right.
and being present for all of my clients and then connecting with people I haven't seen and all these extroverts flying around everywhere. You're trying to like, it's like I feel like you're gonna be like, it's like you're a ball, it's like the ping pong, the pinball machine.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I feel like.
That's a good description. Yeah. Yeah.
And if I look at you and you're like this, and Chris is like, that I know,
Yes.
like SOS.
Yeah. Yeah. Time to recharge. Exactly. Yeah. But I think it's in any kind of business and in any kind of like social setting, otherwise, we all tend to get into those moments of, what am I, even as I'm starting to pack for the event we're going to, I'm like, wait, is this the right outfit? Is that the right outfit? Is that the right
Wait a
outfit?
second, back that up.
Yes.
You're already packing?
Well, I did like my dry cleaning stuff over the weekend, so
I
I just
gotta,
left it
you're
out.
one of those, you're the prepared packer. So this is the perfect, we need to talk about this. There are prepared people like Meredith. There's like B. You saw my bag before I went on the finance. I just throw stuff on the ground and like shove stuff in there. And then there's Luz who has a rack that like puts everything in. So
Yes.
we have these different types of personalities, and it's so
Yes.
interesting. And all of us do this business,
Right. Yes.
and there's space for every kind of personality to do this business. It's not
Absolutely.
right or wrong. And I think that's one thing we have to embrace as a leader as
Yeah.
well. That
Yeah.
everyone does it differently.
That's really true. That's really true. And I think that's, and we all have like these moments of the getting ready to get ready and having, I think it's the awareness of it, the awareness that moments
Yes.
that are okay that make the difference. Um, I wonder about the person who is wanting to start something new, because I think a lot of us, and this season is kind of focused around changes that are happening in our lives, in our marketplace, in our businesses. Um, how do you know, I think is my question, when you are, maybe you feel a little paralyzed, maybe you're doing some analyzing, maybe you're doing a lot of research. How do you know when that's the right thing to do? And maybe like it's intuition kicking up a little bit versus snap out of it. You're just letting yourself fall into that analysis paralysis pattern.
I think you have to have only you. Okay, that's a beautiful question because I think it's one of those things that is individual to each person in that point. So like it would be different for you and me and whoever else is going on. This is a beautiful topic because I'm at that precipice right now of
Yeah.
starting a new YouTube channel separate from real estate business and my brokerage. Like I'm starting this whole new venture that I don't know what it is yet, so I don't even want to talk about it because I'm still like I'm in that place and I'm recognizing myself and I'm calling myself out that I'm struggling on what exactly I need to put out there and how do I get this done. I'm getting stuck in the how, right? And the how is where everything dies.
Mhm.
Because the how, when you're like, how am I going to do this? How will I succeed? How will I get all this done? I'm so busy already. How is this going to happen? And it's such a beautiful point to think about. If that's where your thoughts are going, then that is analysis paralysis. If you're really just trying to feel centered and getting that clarity on, is this the direction I want to go in? That's different. Does that make sense? Like, I think there's a different, if you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out, do I stay the course on what I'm doing? Because everyone has a different course, whether you're getting into this business, meaning real estate, whether you want to grow a team, whether you want to be a solo agent and get an assistant, whether you want to downsize it completely and just work by referral and then do and hang out and live simply. Like, because a lot of people are starting to peel back, like, what do I really need to live to be happy?
Yeah.
Right. Because I know of agents that only work 6 months out of the year
Yeah.
and then they go travel 6 months and they
Right.
tell their clients, I'm going to refer you. I'm gone this 6 months, but
Yep.
you want to work with me? You got to buy during this time. I
Yes.
know of an agent that goes and hunts, like literally like leaves and that sounds miserable, but he literally goes and hunts for like in the winter, like for 4 months. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, like
Yeah.
lives in like a cabin or something and
Yeah.
disappears.
That's
Like
what
that's
he loves.
legit his deal.
Yeah.
That's freaking amazing,
Yeah.
right? I know agents that refuse to like they only want to work 3 days. Like that's what's so incredible about our business is that you really can do it any way you want to do it. And if your
Yeah.
client doesn't fit in and they don't jive with you, then that's fine. Then I'm not for you then, right? Because there's someone else that will run around and chase you.
Right.
So I think that's kind of where it comes down to is you have to, it's that whisper inside of you of we know. And if you're betraying yourself, meaning you're not living authentic, and this is really an excuse,
Yeah.
you're lying to yourself. No one else is going to call you out because we're all adults.
Right. Right.
So perfect example would be like me pretending that I'm looking at my little my phone. I have my phone filming for like little shorts because I'm trying to
Oh
like
yeah.
task if that's okay.
Yeah.
But people do that, multitask. Don't let your content just die in one place. But anyways,
Yes.
I fell into that just to be authentic. There's something called the 5 a.m. club. And it got started up and it was like this whole, what do you call it? Praise or idealizing
Oh.
the person that gets up at 3 a.m.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
who can get up earlier, right?
Right.
Who
Right.
can
Right.
get up the
Yeah.
earliest? And I'm thinking to myself, that's nighttime.
That's in the
When I
movie.
got started, I was like, it's nighttime. What is going on here? But we were all told earlier on, this is how you have to do it. If you don't get up
Mhm.
at 4, if you don't get up at 3, you don't get up at 2:30, which is ridiculous sounding, and you
Yeah.
don't go to bed by 7, I'm like, that's dinner time in my mind. Like, I,
Yes.
I literally tried to make myself that way, and I did it for a long time. And then when I stopped, I felt ashamed that I wasn't
Mm.
doing it anymore. And I felt like as a coach, as a leader, that I was supposed to be doing it. So I still pretended that I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
then I always felt like I was being a fraud because I wasn't doing it, but I was telling people I was doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And so in that moment, you were having some self-awareness about who you were, right? Who what
Yes.
was genuine to you as a human being, and that was not it.
No, and I would get up, get on the 5 a.m. call, like it's a 5-minute call, and then I would go to back to sleep.
That's only 5 minutes, that 5 a.m. call?
Yeah.
What?
I think it's meant to get you going and go.
Okay.
And so I would get on the call and I'd be like, and then I would literally hang up and go back to sleep, literally. And like, that was like the most stupidest thing ever. So then I then realized like, well, and then I was like, I had a come to Jesus with myself, which I think we all as human beings need to have come to Jesus for ourselves. And
Yeah.
I said, self, like I literally said that self, what the hell are you doing? Like, why does that matter? Do you want, the difference is you have to have a conversation. Do I want to be that person? Does that make you a better person because you get up at 4:30 or 5?
Right.
And I was like, no. Does that make someone want to be with you more?
Right.
No. Right. So like, why do I care? Why does someone care?
Right. Right. And it makes me think about two
That
things.
help? Yeah.
Yeah. One is they talk about Joe Dispenza always talks about this, as does like Bob Proctor and a lot of other people, living into creating the vision of the person that you want to be and asking like, how does that
Yes.
person walk? How does that
Yeah.
person talk? How does the person,
Identity,
do
right?
everything?
Who is the identity? And that's the
Right.
quote I read you about. That's the strongest thing that you will hang on to is the identity
Right.
of the person you identify with. So that's what I was doing. I was identifying with this person that got up early, but that really wasn't who I was.
And you didn't want to be that, but
And I
that
didn't
wasn't
want to be that.
aligned
So,
with the person
so
you.
then I would probably sabotage myself staying up extra late on
Yeah.
purpose to
Right.
basically say, dummy, this is not what you want to do. So don't.
Right. And it wasn't aligned with who you were or who you even wanted to be to be.
No.
That's a great question to ask yourself.
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean about, are you giving yourself an excuse because you don't want to do it? Or are you giving yourself excuse because you know you need to do it, but you're scared? So I think actually realizing, because being fear is what that analysis paralysis really is fear. So you have to really look at it. Am I fearful to get up early, or do I just not want to do it? I'm not scared to get up early. I just didn't want to do it because I was like, it didn't fit my lifestyle. I was like, I would like to be with my family because they're late birds, eat
Yeah.
dinner, spend time with them, and do what I want to do. That's the whole point of doing. I don't work for someone else. I want to do what
Right.
I want to do. Right.
Right. Right.
So that means sometimes I work out in the middle of the morning in between a client because I don't like to get up and work out right away. I like to kind of do my own thing and piddle, and I like to piddle.
Yep.
And so when I heard like Alex Hormozy and Jeff Bezos, all these people talk about they don't take appointments until 1 in the afternoon because they like to spend their mornings doing it how they want to do and they don't get it. I was like, thank you, praise Jesus. And no shade to the people like the David Goggins of the world, the
Right.
hardcore Michael Jordans,
Sure.
the athletes, the swimmers, those people that get up and do.
Yes.
If you're a morning person and you thrive and you want to do that, I think that's wonderful. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder too whether a way, as you're like talking through this, to break through analysis paralysis is to have that very crystal clear vision of
Yes.
who you want to be, what
Yes.
you're working for,
Yes.
because that breaks you out of it, right? The minute the purpose is strong enough, the paralysis
The
goes
why.
away.
The
Yeah.
paralysis is the how. Right?
Yes.
The analysis paralysis obsessing about the how
Yes.
this has to be done. Huh? Yeah.
Right.
Right? And you're
Right.
weighing in pros and cons and you're like surveying every single person. I think it's okay to have like one or two people, like your people, to be
Mhm.
like, is this stupid? Like I don't think it
Sure.
hurts to bounce things
Yeah.
off of people, but I
Absolutely.
think if you're finding yourself getting a consensus, I think we talked about that. If you have to interview 50 people to basically get the answer you already know you want,
Yeah. Right.
like it's like the girls that are like, does this make me like that? Yes, you look like a big cow. I mean, I would never say that, but I'm just saying, like, what do you think someone's going to say to you?
Right, exactly.
No
No, and
one's
that
saying
is
that.
the truth, if that is
Let's
the
be
truth.
real.
Yeah, it's true. So would you say that there's like a tactical exercise or something that a listener, let's say a listener is like facing this right now, right? They know
Mhm.
they're overanalyzing something, they know they're paralyzed from, they're keeping themselves from a decision or an action that they need to make or take, that could be pivotal in their careers. What's something that they could do to break themselves out of it?
I don't know if this is for everybody, but for myself, what helps me is to get into peak state. And
Hmm.
we learned that with Tony Robbins, right? So you got to change your
Yes.
state. So sometimes if I feel that I call it the ick.
Uh-huh.
You know, when you're getting that, and it almost feels like indigestion and you get the butterflies and you're just
Yes,
like so stressed and you don't want to
yes,
have this conversation with
yes,
someone or you don't want to call someone or you don't, your body knows you need to do it, but you physically, you're like, ugh, it's like
yes,
that weird fight inside. It's like the devil and the angel inside of you fighting that feeling.
yes,
Change state. So have a dance party, listen to your favorite
yes,
music, go out for a walk, go for a drive, go have lunch, like change where you're physically change where you are.
yep,
That's when I would go work out.
yeah.
So that's why for me, midday workouts are really good for me because it's a lot of times will get me in a better state
It's
because
great.
the endorphins are going. And I think you hear the people say that I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for a
Mhm.
walk. I'm going to
Yep,
just get out in the air. I'm going to dance around, listen to my
yes,
favorite music. Just like even in Grey's Anatomy, remember they like, let's dance it out. The two of them would be dancing it out. It's everywhere. So
yeah,
it's changing your state
yes.
physically so that your mind can get jiggled around to be like, okay, let's do it.
I
And then
think
you
that's
have
such
to
great
do it
advice.
before you change your mind. Like Mel Robbins says, like write the 5 second rule before
Right,
you start negotiating and like working out before you go, well,
right,
I could work
right.
out later. Like you're negotiating with yourself. You
Mhm.
know what you need to do.
Yes, yes. That's
That
a
would be my
great,
tactic.
I think that's a great tactic, and it's different from what I thought we were gonna talk about, which I thought was gonna be like, write out a vision for yourself or whatever. But this is actually much simpler because once
It's
you
so
change that
simple.
physiology, everything else is like instant. So play with it a little bit. See whether that's going out and getting just like a little bit of vitamin D for 5 minutes or taking a quick, power walk around the
Yeah.
block or going and
Or
grabbing
take the deep
coffee.
breaths.
Deep breaths. Some people, I think,
Right. Just
Paige
deep breaths.
Robbins washes her face and brushes her teeth,
Yeah.
like different things. Tony does a cold plunge. So the different, there are different tactics that are right for different people, and you can also mix it up. But yeah, that is great advice. Just change your physiology and
I
then
think, or
come
just
back
like
to it.
sometimes let things breathe.
Yeah.
Like think about like bread, right? I love when people are patting their bread, the yeast, they're like, I gotta let it rise and then close it up. I watch the
Yep.
TikToks and the bread. I'm like, they come back and it's all like big.
Yes.
Sometimes you just need to let things be
Oh yeah.
and
That's
walk away. Let me
that's
walk away from this for just a minute.
mm,
Let's not, because you're not, stirring stuff up and overanalyzing. Like just like when you're reading something over and over again, you think something else new is going to come out of it. It's not.
yeah.
Walk away, fresh eyes. Let me just fresh a good night's sleep. Like sometimes I'd say like a good night's sleep, a good cry,
Mhm.
a good meal, you know, just
Yeah.
a good, that's all you need because you're tired.
Right. Right. You're right. And sometimes just let it have some air. I think that's
Yeah, air, like
basically.
let it rise to where it
Yeah.
needs to be. Not everything else I think falls in that, but I think if it's there's different categories. So if
Yeah.
you're trying to make a big decision, like I had a client I showed a house to yesterday, and they're like, "Oh my God, is this the house?" I'm like, "Chill, let it be. If it is, it is. If it's not, there'll be something else.
Yes.
Just not, no one's dying.
Right.
Like we're not in heart surgery.
Right.
If we are, then neither of us are cardio surgeons, so we're okay, Meredith. I think we're good."
Which is funny because that's so that really flies in the face of so much of what we've been taught as real estate agents, which is create a sense of
Yeah,
urgency. Be sure the person, if they're gonna act, they need to
yeah,
act right now,
yeah,
which feels pushy to a lot of clients and I think gives us a bad name most of the time. But it's also interesting how when you allow someone to have that freedom to make their own decision, all of a sudden they make a decision that is in their best interest and or they
yeah.
appreciate you a whole lot more and then the big picture takes care of itself. They're that client friend.
Yes. And that kind of goes for you and I and anybody else out there. No decision is the wrong decision as long as you're making the decision.
Mm,
When you allow someone to make a decision for your life, whether it be your child, your mom, your sister, your husband, and it's your life and your story,
yeah.
that's when you're going to feel you're betraying yourself.
Yes.
That is the truth, and that is the truth. So that's the biggest thing is you can lay all the options out and say, this is option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's your decision to make.
Yeah.
These are the pros and cons. This is your decision to make. I'm
Yes.
here to support you. What I would do is this. I can share with you my decision, but that's my decision. Don't make it because I'm making it. You need to make what's best for you.
Right.
And I always say, like, this is perspective. Like one person didn't like the first floor bedroom as a master or a primary. And I said, let me give you perspective. I wish I had one of those right now.
Mm,
Time goes real quick.
yeah. Yes.
Right. So that just gave them some perspective. It doesn't mean they're going to change their mind, but it gives perspective. I wish someone had said that to us
Right.
when we were
Right.
looking. Does that make sense? So it's like
Yeah.
you can give that wisdom. Like there's a cool trend right now going on TikTok where like anybody over the age of 30 is giving advice to someone under 30.
Oh,
And they did
really?
one for 20. It's like really
Oh,
cool. And there's and all in the comments. It's great. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
that's
So
nice.
it's like giving the wisdom that we have of all of the years and experience. We have more mileage on us.
Right.
That's the beauty of getting older, is you have
Yes.
wisdom that you could never give. That's like such an earned right of the wisdom.
Absolutely. Yes.
But don't you love that? Like,
I do.
don't begrudge any decision you make because it's your decision and yours to make.
Yes.
And I think the more new stuff you do, the more failure is going to happen. I think it's almost like you should anticipate to fail. I know that like
Mhm.
Sarah Blakely,
Yes.
when she would come home for dinner, her dad's like, "What'd you fail at?" Because he knew that, and because of that, they celebrated the failures. And look what happened.
Yeah, that's like Albert Einstein's whole, or not Albert, Thomas Edison's whole career
Yeah,
was based on failing forward, failing one experiment at a time until he found success. And I think too, one other thing, and then we'll wrap this episode, but I think when you're in that mental state where you're analyzing, step back and create some space for yourself and
yes,
awareness about whose thoughts are in your mind. Are you having thoughts of what is that person going to think? Or are you having thoughts of what feels in alignment with who I am
yes,
as a human
yes,
being?
yes,
And that's the difference, I think, between over analyzing and being, and that's what paralyzes you, right? When you're
a
too worried
hundred
about
percent,
the
a
external
hundred
cues
percent.
rather than what's going on inside. Oh, this is good. All right. I feel unparalyzed now after talking through this, Alicia. I hope that this has helped you. It's funny how sometimes we do these episodes and we get something for ourselves out of them
I
too.
think we get a lot more ourselves, more
Yeah.
than anybody understands. And I think it's
Yeah.
talking things out is a huge way to get unparalyzed.
Yes, yes, yeah, and if you
You to
guys, you
talk
need
for
to talk
yourself.
to us, let us know. We're here for you guys as listeners as well.
Yes.
Thank you for listening today. This was a fun episode, a sort of a deep one, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it
And
was. It was
I hope
good.
it helps some of you who are struggling and maybe feeling a little paralyzed see a way through it. And we wish you every success. We will see you next time. This has been So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. If you're interested in learning how to become that go-to local real estate expert all the sellers call to give you their listings, read Farming for Real Estate Agents. can pick up your copy today on Amazon, Kindle, on Audible, or anywhere you get books.